Hello again and welcome to my hobby bench for the next installment of this Saito FA-72a experiment of can it be saved? Can I save this engine by tapping the glow plug or retapping the glow plug hole after having put the JB Weld in here? Now this JB Weld is completely cured now, and before we continue on with this, I just want to say that this was basically just an experiment. I purchased this engine knowing full well the condition of the engine and the head, and knowing several other things, that getting a new head, a 72 head, would be challenging at best because I know they've been out of production for a while. I also knew that I did not have the skills nor the means to put a helicoil in this head, and it was really never about me trying to get this engine working again. When I was looking at this and negotiating the deal I got on this engine, I was looking at this engine strictly from a perspective of making money on it. And making money on it would be by selling the parts individually, because there's a lot more money to be made by parting this thing out than there is in me trying to recoil it or have somebody put a helicoil in it and then try to sell it. Because personally, I would never buy an engine that had a helicoil in the head. I don't care if it's a brand new engine or not, I just wouldn't do it. So that's the whole reason that I'm going through this experiment of trying to tap this head. There are many reasons, really, for my own curiosity, for hopefully the curiosity of those people that are watching this channel and following my videos, but just because of the fact that there are no hard, fast rules in this hobby about what one person has to do, and I don't have to do what you would want me to do and all that kind of stuff. This is a hobby. We can experiment with doing things the way we want just for the heck of doing it. So that's the whole reason I'm doing this. It isn't really about getting a functional Saito 72 engine, because personally I don't want one. I don't really care to have a functional 72 Saito engine. They just don't really do anything for me, and the whole reason I do a lot of these things is strictly to make videos exploring other options. So that's the premise of this video. Now let's go back to the table and see if I can successfully rethread this hole. Alright, so here we are. So basically, like I said, it's fully cured. I've got one shot at this, and only one. And I don't have it jigged up. I don't, this is just me here on the table doing these things. So I've got my tap installed in my handle. I've got my glow plug wrench and a glow plug. So here's the challenges with doing this. Like I just said, I get one shot at this, and that's it. There's no going back from there. I mean, sure, I could sit there and try and JB Weld it yet again and do that, but I don't know that it's worth doing that. I've gotten an offer from a friend of mine, Mike, who will install a helicoil in this head for me. He's told me that several times, and it's like, if I choose to do that, then Mike, you're the one I'm going to send this to helicoil, because I trust you. But again, it's not really the point of having an operational Saito engine unless somebody's really pining for this engine and they want to offer me a lot more than $25 that I paid for it. Because I'm basically looking to make a profit on this engine one way or another, and that's my prerogative. So with that, let's see about this. So what are the variables here? The variables are, I don't have a jig to hold this. I can insert this. It's not a bottoming tap. I don't know exactly what this type of tap is called. It's just a threading tap, I guess. I don't know. But it's such that it will allow you to cut new threads. And so is it kind of angled this way? I have to make sure I get it fore and aft this way. So what I'm going to start by doing is just kind of laying it in here and kind of trying to eyeball where I think how that plug is supposed to fit in there, and then maybe just start to do a little bit of a bite here. And hold very still. And I'm moving it all over the place here, so this is not working out right. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like I'm able to do this very well at all. Maybe I didn't get enough JB Weld in there. I mean, it kind of looks like it's going in alright, but I think I also meant to take the autofocus off my camera. Because it may be constantly trying to refocus. I wanted to wait till I got at least enough of a bite before I started doing the back and forth thing, because JB Weld is not the strength of aluminum or steel in my opinion. I mean, I know you normally do like the back and forth thing when you're threading something, but I think in this case, just going forward is probably the best course of action here. So I don't know how deep I need to go. I almost wonder if not going all the way through is the better option. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract this. I was deep enough in there for a plug to go. I just have to be very careful taking that out. So hopefully you can see, I don't know if you can see how deep I went in there. Maybe not deep enough. There's a bunch of JB Weld material here. I think I want to try to see if I can thread this glow plug in there. Very carefully. Well, that plug threaded in there. I don't know if I can get you an angle where you can see the plug in there or not. Threaded in and it felt like it's tight, but it's one of those things where how tight do you want it to go, because you don't want to blow it out. So it looks like it threaded in there. Let me take it out. I wanted to see if I could grab it just with my fingertips and see what it feels like. See, it still feels like it's gripping threads even on its way out. I don't know, you know, it might be one of those things where I could actually do this 2 or 3 times, but I'm not sure there's a whole lot to be gained from doing that. So the next thing for me to do would be make sure I got all this stuff out of here, which I'm pretty sure it's all dry. There's no oil. I didn't put any oil on this tap, so there should be no oil in there at all adhering any particles. What I can do now is I can install the valves on this engine and, you know, do a little bit of a pressure test and see, put the plug in there and see preliminarily if it looks like it's going to stay. One thing I do want to do is I want to grab an OSF plug and try putting that in there, because I'm using a Fox Miracle plug, which is a really long plug. It's got a lot longer threads on it. So I want to try a OSF plug, because this was one of the ones where maybe if you can look at the difference between these.
See the different links?
This is the OSF plug. That's the Fox.
See how much longer the threaded portion is?
So I want to make sure that I'm not just threading it in there and getting it to theoretically feel tight because of the fact that I've got more threads there. Now, so that kind of threaded in also, and it, you know, I'm not even torquing this enough that it's torqued just enough to hold that in place. And, well, it should be torqued enough that it would operate and fire. Whether it stays tight or not, I don't know. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and clean this table off a little bit, get the valves out, and I guess maybe I'll put the valve installation on video too. Otherwise, I'll just come back with this when I'm doing the leak test. Okay, so, oh crap is what happened. And I'm saying oh crap because you're seeing an engine that's in a completely different state than what you were supposed to have seen it in. And that was, I had just installed the valves in the head, and I was sitting there thinking I was shooting a video talking about how I tried to leak test it with my mouth and I had compression and all that good stuff. And then after I did most all of that and started to get to this point, I looked up only to find that my camera's battery had died and failed to record any of it. So basically what you missed was I had the head off and the valves installed, and I was basically saying that I could hold here and blow into the bottom of this, and I was feeling no leakage. So I tested that by loosening the plug. I got leakage and all that. So then I went ahead and said, well, I'm going to go ahead and just, the next step would be to install the head, piston, and all that stuff right onto into the engine like this. That way I could tell if I had real compression or not. And that was before putting the rocker arms on. So I had compression. I could feel compression. It felt, you know, I guess it felt like normal Saito 72 compression. I don't know. I don't have another Saito 72 to feel it with. So then I was pushing down, lost the compression, obviously. So it felt like I had compression. So then I loosened up my glow plug, and obviously as I kept loosening it, I was losing more compression. So then I said, well, I'm just going to throw my push rods in here and the rocker arms. And it was at that point that I had the next oh crap moment, which was I was just starting to install this guide pin in this rocker arm, and half the head broke off. And I was not putting any force on it whatsoever. So it's almost like that, I don't remember exactly, rocker pin, I don't know exactly what they call this on the manual, was either stress fractured or I don't know. It makes me wonder what really happened with this engine, because it took no effort to extract these. They weren't stuck at all. And I didn't do anything unusual to install it. I'm just sitting there rotating it in. All of a sudden I see this piece fall off and I'm like, oh crap. So I've got just barely enough to barely get that in there, and it's just enough to hold that. So I didn't maintain integrity between intake and exhaust rocker arms. So the valve lash is, right now there's absolutely no compression. And that is because the valve lash is way off. So the way I can mitigate that and get my compression back is just loosen, and I can't even say for sure that the valve lash was set right to begin with anyway. So I'm just going to loosen these things up and rotate these up so that we've got basically no. So now look, I know it's a lot easier to, so I don't have the rear cover on. You don't need that for testing compression. But I mean, I think you can see that I've got compression. I don't think it feels like it's getting any better. So I've got compression there. Maybe I can better demonstrate it by doing this. Maybe this is a slightly better demonstration. I don't know. Put a prop on here, or half a prop, as it were in this case. I don't know if this little locking nut is going to go all the way on there and secure that or not. We'll find out. Maybe it'll be a little bit better demonstration of the fact that there is actually compression. Whether it's the right amount of compression, whether it'll last, who knows. And as I was saying in that other video too, it's like the next step here is I don't know if that's proving anything else or not. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of pointless. Either way, I can tell you I've got a little bit of compression. Whether that compression will last or not, I don't know. So, and I was also explaining how I don't like these long-term experiments, because I've got a buddy, Mike, who's willing to just put a helicoil in this head and be done with it. And then I would have, except I need to buy a new pin there, I would have basically an operational engine that has low time as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, the next most logical thing to do with this particular experiment would be take it out on the stand and run it and see if it'll actually run, see how long it'll run, see if it'll run for 2 full tanks of fuel, say. See if that just blows out eventually, if it blows the plug completely out. I mean, there's other things to test. Right now I've got compression. I could go ahead and reassemble the entire engine and do all that, and then I get to sit and wait, because I live in Wisconsin and this is February 1st, and I'm not theoretically, or actually, not theoretically, I'm not actually going to be able to get an engine on a stand for at least another month and a half. So it's like I put this whole little project in limbo for that long, or I just make the decision to say the hell with it and I just start selling the parts of the engine and get my money back as quickly as possible. So that's what I have to decide right now. What's it really worth to me? Is it worth sitting here waiting for a month and a half, 2 months to see if this is actually going to work or not? Yes. Was I able to successfully tap threads into the head? Yes. How long lived will they be? I don't know. Is this super, super tight? No. I mean, it's pretty tight. I don't know that there are some people that just don't have any idea of how tight to tighten things, and I can't tell you how many times I get engines that the glow plugs are just so over torqued, it's not even funny. If I can't just unscrew a plug with a regular tool by hand and just do this without having to stick a tool in this way and make a lever arm, it's too tight. So maybe that's why people tend to strip threads, is they just don't know their own strength, or they think they have to gorilla grip everything, every fastener they ever touch. I've known plenty of people like that, and that's how these things happen. But if you have a good idea of what fasteners, thread size, and all that stuff is required to actually torque it sufficiently, and they have torque specifications too. So that one's way out, that's fine. So yeah, so you know, whether it would hold up or not, I don't know. So like I said in the very first part of this, is I don't really care to have an operational 72 Saito for my own use, because it just doesn't serve any purpose for me. So I've got this to get rid of it. But in the effort of maintaining, or at least continuing the experiment, it's like, do I just sit on this now and wait until I can run it and recoup any losses, or not losses, recoup my money and make some more money on it in a few months, or what? So Mike, I don't know what to tell you right now as far as me sending this head to you, because I'm kind of on the quandary of, do I want to continue and just sit on this and test it when it gets warm enough to run an engine, or do I just pull the plug on it and have you either rethread it or I just start selling the parts? I don't know. Let me know what you think about those options in the comments of this video, I guess, because right now, at this moment, I'm not sure what I'm going to do.